Greetings dear aspirants, welcome to today's current affairs session of Civilspedia. Today we'll be discussing about the protected areas of India and sites of conservation importance and regarding the tribes, flora and fauna of Andaman and Nicobar Islands under the prelims topic and about the logistics sector overall in our mains topic. So let's move on to our first prelims topic of the day, the protected areas and sites of conservation importance. If you see in the Wildlife Institute website, of India website, you can see the list of protected areas and the sites for conservation importance with regards to wildlife, nature and also culture. So under the protected areas, I would like to give an idea about the difference between the different protected areas that have been charted under this topic, protected areas, and some idea about the sites of conservation importance. So I will not be dealing in much depth, but just the difference between the different protected areas. So if you see protected areas as a whole, they are areas which needs to be protected away from human occupation. So the humans can settle for residing in a particular area by clearing the forest, or they can go for developing that area for agriculture or for industries. So these areas are rich in wildlife or in nature environment wise or some culture wise. So these areas need to be protected from human occupation or at least the exploitation of the resources, which has to be limited. So if you see different types of protected areas, we have national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves and community reserves and marine protected areas. And if you see these four, they have been listed under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So they have given some definition about what is a national park, what is a wildlife sanctuary, what is a conservation reserve or a community reserve. And if you see sites of conservation importance, it can be biosphere reserves, your tiger reserves, biosphere reserves, your Ramsar sites and important bird areas, or these all some like Ramsar wetland sites or important bird areas. These have been classified with the help of the international organizations, and there are some sites which have been classified within India, within domestically, like the biodiversity heritage sites or the tiger reserves and the elephant reserves. So this is all about it. And if you see tiger reserves or elephant reserves or even your Ramsar wetland sites or your biosphere reserves, they can include one or two or more national parks and wildlife sanctuaries together. So this difference you need to keep it in mind. So I have just given a small classification between different protected areas in terms of who notifies them as either a national park or a wildlife sanctuary and regarding the human activity in that particular protected area, and what is the percentage of the total land area, and how many total numbers of wildlife sanctuaries or national parks that have been declared by the governments. So if you see wildlife sanctuary, it is being notified by the state government then and then when required, and here the human activity is generally allowed at the fringes of the wildlife sanctuary, and it is a very restricted activity. It can be used for tourism purposes or by the locals residing on the fringes of the wildlife sanctuary. And if you see the percentage of the total land area, it is 3.62% of the total India's land mass, and there are about 543 numbers of wildlife sanctuary, and the state or the union territory with the highest number of wildlife sanctuaries within its administrative setup is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands with 96 numbers, and if you see state-wise, it's Maharashtra. And coming to national parks, they are again declared by the state government, and in case of national parks, the protection area is too much that the human activity is entirely restricted in the entire national park, and they comprise to 1.23% of the total landmass of India, and there are about 104 numbers of national parks. And if you see, Madhya Pradesh is a state which has the highest number of national parks. And coming to conservation reserves, so these reserves are basically a transit area or a migratory area for the animals or the other wildlife to move from one national park to the other, or say one national park to the other wildlife sanctuary which is located adjacent, but in between there is a human settlement. So they are called community conservation reserves, and these are again notified by the state government, and here also the human activities are restricted once when it is declared. And here there are about 76 numbers of conservation reserves, and Jammu and Kashmir is the state with the highest number of conservation reserves. And if, next, coming to community reserves, they are again notified by the state government, and as the name suggests, it is community. So the private will take part, or the village or the villages where this particular wildlife habitat is there, they'll be a part of this community reserves. And these are again notified by the state governments, and here the human activities allowed, especially the private parties who own the land but are willing to be classified as the community reserves, and also the village community. And there are totally 45 community reserves declared till date, and Meghalaya is the state which has the highest number of community reserves. And coming to biosphere reserve, this is not given a protected area status. As I told, a biosphere reserve can be inclusive of 1 or 2 national parks and or wildlife sanctuaries. So it is being declared by the government of India, and there is also World Network of Biosphere Reserves. So India has declared 18 biosphere reserves in total, out of which 11 are part of World Network of Biosphere Reserves. And if you see human activity, you need to know the 3 different areas of biosphere reserves. So it is the core area, the buffer area, and the transition area, or you can call it core zone, buffer zone, and the transition zone. So core zone is the area which is located very central to that particular biosphere reserve which has been declared, where the human activity is entirely restricted. Only with the permission of forest officials one can go for scientific or research purposes. And if you see the buffer area, so to some extent human activity is allowed in the fringes, and transition zone is between the area between the human settlements and this particular biosphere reserve, which can be 1 or more wildlife sanctuary or national parks together. So this is all about the classification between the different protected areas. So this is all you need to know with regards to human activity and who notifies them. So the conservation reserves, the tiger reserves, elephant reserves, all form a part of the sites of conservation importance. There are also some sites which are being classified on the basis of cultural significance. Please have a idea about them. So the source is here, the Wildlife Institute of India. You can just have a look at the website. And coming to the next topic, we'll be studying about the tribes, flora and fauna of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So Andaman and Nicobar Islands has been in recent news for your SIMPEX, the naval exercise between India and Singapore, and also for the recent North Sentinel Island issue, where an American was killed by the uncontacted tribes, Sentinelese tribes of the North Sentinel Islands. So with regards to tribes of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, there are 2 classifications of the tribes. First is the Negrito race, and second is the Mongoloid race. So Negrito is nothing but the Negro, the Spanish version of the word Negro. So there are 4 Negrito types that are presently living in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They live in different islands. First is the Andamanese tribes, which are who are located in the Strait Island, and the Onjis tribe who are located near the Dungong Creek of the Little Andaman, and Jarawas who are located in South Andaman and the Middle Andaman, and the Sentinelese tribes who are located in the North Sentinel Island. And the Mongoloid race, under the Mongoloid race, there are 2 tribes. First is the Shompen tribes, who are located in the Great Nicobar Island, and the Nicobarese tribes. So the Nicobarese tribes are the those tribes who form the majority of the entire 6 tribes located in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. If you see the main occupation of all the tribes, it is hunting and fishing. But Nicobarese tribes have become modernized, and they are also having their own traditional way of hunting and fishing. They have really have a socialized life with the present day humans. And Andaman as an island, if you see some trivia, geographical information about the island, it has North Andaman, Middle Andaman, and South Andaman, and a Little Andaman Island. And Nicobar, Car Nicobar, and the Little Nicobar, Greater Nicobar Islands. So the Andaman and the Nicobar is separated by a 10-degree channel, and the South Andaman and the Little Andaman is separated by the Duncan Passage. So Rutland Island was also in recent news because a long The long-range missile launch site has been cleared by the government to be set up in the Rutland Island. So Rutland Island was also in the news. And one more trivia is that Port Blair is the only place in India where the Tri-Service Command, all the Army, Navy and the Air Force have integrated command in Port Blair. So it is located in South Andaman Island, and your North Sentinel Island is located west to the South Andaman Island. So this is all about the geographical trivia of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And if you see, there are multiple types of forests located in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. If you see climate as a whole, it has a tropical humid climate. So it is suitable for all these forests, which has the tropical wet evergreen forest, tropical semi-evergreen forest, your moist deciduous forest, littoral mangrove forest, swamp forest, and there are some quality timbers which are being cultivated in these forests, paddock and gurjan, which are valuable. And you also have got coral reefs in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are basically fringing reefs towards the eastern side of the islands, and barrier type of reefs towards the western side of the island. So we have got different types of forests, and if you see in Andaman's wet evergreen is found, your moist deciduous is found, and also is swamp forest, and Nicobar largely as tropical evergreen forest, because it rains almost 8 months of the year in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which receives rains from both the north-east monsoon and the southwest monsoon. So the Nicobar is one biosphere reserve as well. This is an additional info. And with regards to fauna, there are different endemic mammals, birds, animals, reptiles found in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And there are some 32 numbers of endemic species of mammals found in Andaman and Nicobar. Some examples of commonly seen mammals are dugong, whales, dolphins, etc. And marine life, you see the varieties of fishes, echinoderms and mollusks. And there are some 99 endemic birds to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And there are some 24 reptiles that are again endemic to Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Some of the commonly found reptiles are the saltwater crocodiles, sea turtles and the sea snakes. So this is all you need to know regarding the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So let's move on to our main topic, logistics sector. So in this logistics sector, I intend to cover some basic statistics of the Indian logistics sector. What are the challenges that the logistics sector face, and what are some of the initiatives that have been taken by the government towards the improvement of the logistics sector, and what is the way forward, some suggestions that we can give towards the improvement of the logistics sector. So let's start with our logistics sector. So I have drawn these statistics from the economic survey of the year 2017-18 for reference. And if you see India's logistics sector, it is worth 160 billion US dollars. It is likely to grow to around 215 billion dollars, $215 billion. And if you see a compounded annual growth rate for the past 5 years, it is around 7.8%. And it provides employment direct and indirect to 22 million people totally. So which is almost around 1/6 of India's population. And World Bank releases the Logistics Performance Index, and India has been ranked 44th rank in 2018, which is down from the 2016 rank, which is the 35th rank, which is an all-time best. So we need to know what are the challenges that are faced by the logistics sector. So I intend to illustrate about the logistics sector. So if you see in one of my previous classes under Operation Greens, I was explaining the supply chain of the fruits and vegetables. So the supply chain is more or less same for all the products. So let me start explaining it. So in order to produce a product, final product, I'll just put it final good, you need raw materials. And these raw materials can be of different types, and it needs to be sourced from different sources. So say different raw material comes from different sources. One comes from Chennai, and the other comes from Bombay, another comes from Calcutta. And say if you have an industry at Delhi, so all these raw materials have to be transited to your production area located at Delhi. So from Delhi, it has to go for a central warehouse, which can be regional wise. For example, say North region, South region, West, or the Eastern regions. And from here, it has to go to the marketing points, which can be the wholesale marketing points. At different areas of that particular zone, say south, north, east or west, and from here it has to go to the retail points. So the supply chain is pretty much same as I explained in my previous class of operation greens. So if you see here, the logistics sector can be classified largely or broadly classified into two, which is the transport side and the infrastructure side. If you see the infrastructure side, these warehouse, wholesale marketing points and the retail points form your infrastructure side. And to some extent, infrastructure can also be seen in the storage of some of the raw materials from where it goes to the manufacturing basis or the production sites. And the next is the transport infrastructure. So here you have transport, here you have transport, here you have transport, and here you have transport as well. So together you have transport infrastructure. So let us see what we need for transport infrastructure. Basically, you need to have a road, rail, air or a sea water-based infrastructure. So infrastructure is the first thing. And for these goods to pass through different states, say if it has to go from Chennai to Delhi by road, it has to cross many states from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh to Uttar Pradesh and to Delhi. So you have different transit points, or you can call border posts. And say if you are going by highways, you have toll plazas where you need to pay the fees. So these are some examples of the transport infrastructure. And if you see warehousing infrastructure as the whole, so the infrastructure of logistics is mostly a fragmented infrastructure. You have fragmented warehouses which are not integrated, so both technologically and also infrastructurally. And even if you see infrastructure is not up to the mark. So lack of quality infrastructure. And next, coming to technology, lack of advanced or proper technologies. So even with technology, you need to have a skilled manpower. So unskilled manpower. So if you see the pay of these supply chain specialists, they're not really paid well, and even this entire sector is a very unorganized one. If you see, almost 70% of the supply chain sector is totally unorganized. So the skill level of the laborers is not really up to the mark. So you have got unskilled laborers here. So you have manpower, you have technology, you have infrastructure here, and you have infrastructure and some bottlenecks towards transporting this infrastructure. And even with regards to your railway infrastructure, you not have a dedicated infrastructure for transiting your whatever manufactured products. So with this, this is a glimpse of the entire supply chain sector of India, or say even for the entire world. And let's see some of the challenges with regards to this particular logistics sector. So as I explained, it is totally an unorganized sector and underdeveloped material handling infrastructure. So I explained here lack of quality infrastructure and fragmented warehousing, which was the first point under the infrastructure. So lack of seamless movements of goods across different modes. When infrastructure is not there, say from here you have a larger truck. You need a larger truck to transit a manufactured product, the finished good product, from the central warehouse to the warehousing point. But to the retail points, you cannot have that same truck. You can have vans. In order to transit from these trucks to these vans, so it means seamless transporting of the goods across modes. So the seamless movement of goods is not there. And if you see lack of integrated IT infrastructure or the modern technology, and it results in the high cost of the logistics involved. So with help of this, if you can see, there are many bottlenecks, and finally the cost of the logistics involved is going to be really very high, which will hamper the growth of the entire logistics sector. So the logistics sector is nothing but the flow of goods from the point of origin to the point of consumption. So there have been some initiatives taken by the government with the help of budgetary allocations or even with the help of executory actions. If you see, the GST was introduced. With the introduction of GST, we can see an improvement in the compounded annual growth rate of the logistics sector to about 10.5%. And in order to focus especially on this logistics sector, the logistics division has been, new logistics division has been declared under the Department of Commerce, under the Ministry of Commerce and Industries. So with the creation of this new logistics division, it will help in the developing and coordinating the integrated development of the entire logistics and introduction of technology-based interventions towards continuous improvement. And infrastructure status has also been given to the logistics sector. So once you give infrastructure status, construction of these warehouses or the cold storages at the central level or at the wholesale level will be easy, because you will get capital with a low rate of interest. So there can be, we can expect to have an increased credit flow, and the process of approval has also been simplified with the help of creating this new logistics division, and also by according the infrastructure status. So this division will now take care of approvals of creating the infrastructure for the logistics. So this will encourage the market accountability with the help of the regulatory authority. And the e-way bills as a part of GST has also been introduced for interstate trade and also for the intrastate trade. So this will bring in more transparency to the logistics sector, and it will help in the formalization of the sector. So GST and the introduction of e-way bill will help us to achieve towards formalization of the logistics sector. And as a part of the World Bank's Logistics Development Index, India has also taken steps towards encouraging the competition between the states towards the logistics sector. So it has come up with Leeds Index towards efficient logistics by the Ministry of Commerce and Industries with club with Deloitte. So the Leeds Index is for all those different states were ranked based on their logistics index performances. So I have jotted down some of the challenges which we have already seen. With the help of those challenges, let us try to give a way forward. With the help of challenges, it will be easy for you to also give the way forward. So I was telling you it is highly an unorganized sector. So our GST is going to help, and the e-way bill introduction is going to help towards the formalization. And additionally, we should also have an integrated logistics policy towards the entire improvement of the sector. This is a point which maybe you can propose. And we have underdeveloped or a less developed material handling infrastructure. So the warehousing infrastructure is not up to the mark. So the capital flows further still needs to be increased. So the state governments can take an initiative towards inviting the private business players across the world in order to invest in the warehousing or the logistics infrastructure of the nation. And the fragmented warehousing is also there. So this can be avoided with the help of having an infrastructure development and integrated warehouse management. So under integrated warehouse management, you should also have the latest technologies. So the introduction of modern technologies is required as a part of your integrated warehouse management. So under the integration of modern technologies, you can have your RFID tags, the radio frequency ID tags, or the fast tags which have been introduced in the toll plazas, in some of the toll plazas of our country. And also technologies such as the artificial intelligence, introduction of blockchain. If you see RFID, once they're coded or tagged to the final product, so that particular product will be tamper proof, and its location and identification will be very easy, and it will also reduce the overall turnaround time of these logistics delivery. So turnaround time is the time taken to deliver the logistics from the point of source to the point of consumption or the point of requirement. So the time taken will reduce, and artificial technology will help towards improving the logistics sector with lesser manpower and higher efficiency. And blockchain technology can be involved at places where there are multiple contracts for a particular business. So blockchain technology will help in that point. So we were discussing about manpower under the infrastructure category of logistics sector. So the skill development for this particular logistics sector manpower or the personnel needs to be developed. So the Ministry of Skill and Development has to work towards improving the skill development, and there can be courses taken up by the academic side or the educational institution side to have more interactive courses towards developing the supply chain managers both at the middle level and at the low level. And regular performance of the validation performance validation mechanism is required. So you have systems in place, but you need to check then and there if that system is working properly. So you need to have a validation mechanism or a verification mechanism towards the improvement. So this way you can give some points or suggestions towards improving the logistics sector. With this, we are winding up our today's topic. Please do like, comment and share the video, and please subscribe for Shankar IAS Academy channel for latest videos and updates. Stay focused and motivated, friends. Thank you.